There we go.
There you go. All right, here we go. Welcome to the Creative Conference. I'm Danielle Deadwyler, and I'm hanging with the brilliant Ebony Blanding of House of June. Hey, and we are going to have a beautiful, rousing, expansive, I'm putting all adjectives on it, but who knows what it's going to be, dialogue about being artists and filmmakers in Atlanta, Georgia, to the evolving nature of artistic practice, to directing, to all of the things. So let's just dive. We're gonna just dive, see where the day takes us, and hope you enjoy. Yeah, what's up? So first, let's just say Ebony and I have been collaborating for years. In life, in art, in spirit, you know. Elle, how did that come to pass? When did we first meet?
I want to say it came through. Was it through Atlanta Film Festival, like through the filmmakers in residence?
I think it was.
I think it was before that too.
It was before then.
It was through another organization then, perhaps through Film Fatales. I think they were having like some incubators. Might have been something like that.
Or Walthall, the defunct Walthall Fellowship.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, in spaces where we're both really pushing and trying to expand ourselves as emerging artists, and not just in film, in experimental works, experimental disciplines, because I'm into performance art and expanding into other object making and things of that nature presently. And Eb has always for me been doing the weird shit.
We love the weird shit.
We love the weird shit. So I think that's important to dig into, that we've been searching and toying and playing and figuring those things out, not just in these more traditional commercial spaces, but in the experimental spaces. And I know for me, I really loved doing Talk to Plants. Like it just, and I'll say for a lot of folks, in doing independent work, that's where I learned the most. Or that's where I really had the capacity to expand myself, because you don't, like, I'm doing all of these auditions for larger scale stuff, and at a time you're just getting the audition. I wasn't necessarily booking anything or getting opportunities. That's where you're like training the muscle. But here, in doing things with you, in doing Talking to Plants, in doing we did another one too. We did a few. We did like your documentary. Yes. When I did Busted Open. So we've been doing this collaborative work that has allowed us to grow and to learn and to experiment and to be able to figure stuff out, I don't even like fail, but to learn how to do things better and how to apply what we learned in the experimental thing to the next thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a lot of stretching. It's a lot of the independent space. I think just gives you a lot of fertile ground to mess up, and sometimes it's beautiful messes. Sometimes you can't do nothing with the mess, but it's all, I think, an incubator for yourself, your undisturbed voice before like you have all of these other figures and folks who are chiming in. You just get to kind of like free fall. So I think everyone should just have that opportunity to free fall. Before they start playing with the big guns, you feel me?
Yeah. I remember, like, and just as using Talking Plants as like an example, like I remember climbing the ladder thing, or like, I don't know, whatever the fence thing was at the
window, whatever it was.
At Goat Farm.
Shout out to Goat Farm.
And shout out to Goat Farm. And you were like kind of like just allowing me to do what I wanted to do. But also leading me as director. And that was fun and beautiful, because in those other experiences hadn't always worked with a Black director, let alone a woman director. And Absolutely. So I felt, I don't know, there's a spiritual shift that happens when you're able to experience that. So I was able to go places confidently, yet these unknown places that I wasn't able to necessarily do with folks who are different directors of different ethnicities or backgrounds. And you feel a certain kind of care. Because I remember I cut my foot or something like that. And then like y'all immediately got like, oh no, I'm gonna get you a Band-Aid.
All hands on deck.
But the brain didn't go to shut down, which, you know, when you're learning as a young and you're coming up, you're like, you know, it's not perfect. It went to push through. This is you're still being loved, you're still being cared for, you're still being appreciated and worshiped, and your body is a medium for this space and it's being nourished.
Yeah.
So I just remember that being an experience that enabled me to open up even more.
I think to that point, in particular with Talk to Plants, because it was so independent, and you have those places where you're kind of, it's a learning curve, right? You might not necessarily have all the crew, or you might not necessarily have all the tools that you think you need to do the thing, but you're doing the thing. But to speak to when you were talking about feeling nurtured, I think for independent filmmakers and just artists, when we kind of weigh what we don't have to what we have, I think sometimes we don't really sit in how mighty it is to be able to create an environment where someone feels safe. You know, how mighty it is to really be able to support the crew, support your cast on a limited budget, because it's tied to budget, but it's really tied to, I think, how much work you've done, you know, in the pre-production part of your work, and how sacred you're holding the space and the folks in the space. And for me, it always looks like protecting people, whether it's physically, spiritually, mentally, just really creating an environment where everyone's kind of like in this communion with each other. So I'm happy you brought that up, because I do think that's a strong part of directors that we can recognize and honestly kind of understand that we have a lot of power in that we are creating our sets, that we are creating these environments. And you might not have like the biggest, you know, production, so to speak, as far as money goes, but the spirit is mighty. So use it.
Yeah, that's pivotal. Like we've never had like guap galore. You know, it's always been, oh, I got this grant. It's more than what I had. Okay,
it's way more than what I had.
I'm gonna pull the squad together. But see, even on Talk to Plants, I think you had it was a good amount of people. You had set photographer, you had, you know, DP and we had all of these different people who were working intentionally in this capacity to bring this thing to life. Production design on that thing was real, right?
I mean, now this is the beautiful thing. Yeah, production design was mighty real. Like I'll say that my crew is really evidence of the work I've been able to do and being able to do it for as long as I have. So while it's independent, if you've been continuously working, you know what I'm saying, and watering your projects and watering other people's projects, as folks grow, because we all growing at different speeds, when the homie get access to some higher tier equipment, you're going to be blessed off that, you know. As Danny and other people who've been helping me with production design, as their opportunities grow, I really see how much they're able to pour into the work that we do together. So I think that's definitely like understanding it's going to take money. It's going to take money for sure. It's definitely going to take money.
We want that.
We want the money.
We want that.
It's a good problem to have. But the magic is really made, you know, by those folks who you have put into the key positions, and just trusting them to bring their experience, but also their visions and their dreams. Like the conversations that I have with people, it's grounding it into, of course, where I was when it came to be. But it's a dance, you know, and so I just allow folks to really let spirit use them the same way I feel like spirit uses me.
It's real. It's real. That means working with people who you who are of like mind, who are moving with the same intention, same sacred nature of making things and making experiences. So yeah. Talk to Plants. Loved it. So then I guess we could like, what does it mean to evolve from that space? I think that's pre-filmmakers and residents.
Yeah.
And then coming to have the filmmaker in residence opportunity, and then stepping to the next level. So I guess I'm interested in us digging in. Okay, so you're working in these indie spaces and you're getting experience and you're toying, you're playing, you're experimenting. What does it mean to go back to a quote unquote more commercial space?
I think when we are working between more commercial and independent space, sometimes in particular if you're a director, the challenge might be like, can I retain my voice? You know, like I've done it my way in this space, but when I move over here, the rules kind of switch up, and they definitely switch up. So you should be prepared for that. But I think understanding that you came to this other space because of your voice has been very important for me to remember. People are literally, if you're being invited like for a hire project, folks are bringing me in because I'm like super Atlanta, I'm super country, I'm super red clay. Like these are the things and the beauties about me that like, when I go to other spaces where the bag is bigger, I don't forsake that. That makes me, you know, I feel as though that's what really like sets me apart. So I think really honoring who you are, and for me, it's from an ancestral point of being able to recognize that, you know, any block I go on, I'm good. Like for real, like, you know, I can.
And I deserve to be there.
I deserve to be there, you know, and it's going to feel different. Of course, because the vibes are different. Yeah, different energies. But you know, and I have to always kind of take it back to just like community and church stuff. Like the Holy Ghost is moving everywhere we go, you know, so it's gonna show up for me. So I love to, honestly, when I go to like more commercial spaces and I kind of like pull into my bag of tricks, as you will, my mojo bag, and like they kind of looking at me like, damn, I ain't never seen it that way. Right. I think it's fun to like to play in that space and to show how I kind of do things as a call and response, because that's how I came up in the church, as a call and response, and how it shows itself in this work. So yeah, it's fun to play in both worlds for sure.
No, it definitely, it's different because I feel like for me as an actor, when I'm transitioning into commercial work, it's a giving over of the self, kind of, allowing yourself to be opened and to be possessed of a time and space, whatever that time and space may be for the project that I'm working on. And so it's a holistic giving unto this project, to this experience, to these people, because it's typically new people. I'm learning all new everyone. You're coming in.
Yeah.
You're with folks who might have already been collaborating together.
That's right.
And now you are this you know, new growth, this advantageous growth that comes because this you the new growth, and you got something to say that obviously was valuable to somebody who's already a part of it. So, and then I get, you know, end up being a part of these things of the last few years that take a lot of time, that take, you know, might be on a project for 3 to 6 months. Well, obviously, you know, the challenges of doing that during the pandemic, but the things that I've been doing for myself or in nurturing with you, or those things had taken even longer.
Yeah.
But but getting to that, there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of just researching. There's a lot of thinking, having other personal experience or artistic experiences that have to, or you know, just trying to get some freaking money to support
living.
It incubates a whole lot longer. And so when you're finally at the moment of doing that thing that you've already been working towards, it does reach the 2-year mark or whatever, you know, people like, I've been toying away for 7 years. The hell? Why does it take so long?
I used to wonder the same thing. Like, what is you doing?
I get it.
I totally get it. Yeah. It's a lot of things at play. You know, it's a lot of people at play. It's a lot of, the more that you tee up, if you will, you'll realize that, you know, more people are invited to the party. And the more people who are on the guest list, the more time it's going to take. You have to tease through things. Like, it goes back to it's a business. And I think sometimes that kind of escapes us depending on what side of the artistic process we're at, what part of our artistic journey we're at, that as we start to tee up, you'll realize as though there are more investments. And so you have to kind of just hold the art, hold the project, hold yourself in a different way. But I think it all comes back to, why did we want to be a part of said thing? And just really like honoring that connection, because these things take time, like you just said. And of course you would know because you're working on like such bigger projects and you see how like, damn, like we haven't started production yet. And, you have that downtime. So what is it? How am I keeping myself? How am I growing myself?
Yeah.
I still have my own things that I want to make.
Yeah.
So how do I water those? So it's really, it's a lot to it, but it's definitely, it's a balancing act that can be done for sure.
Yeah, I think that the balancing thing is very important. I'm thinking about, I saw a talk with Theaster Gates at Emory years ago, and he was just talking about freaking a thing all the way out. Right. And so I think about that when I think about, why it takes so long for things to happen. And it's just that it's not about something taking so long. It takes the amount of moments, and it takes the amount of experiences that it needs for it to come to fruition in the way that it needs to come to fruition. So it makes me think about young artists and emerging artists and how folks can get, disheveled and might lose faith at times in wanting to bring something to life, but you have to enable it to do what it needs to do, for it to manipulate itself, for you to manipulate it, for you to come to pass with the people that it needs to come to, for you to have the experiences that it needs, right? And thinking about just using talking plants as another example to play into this, that's a grief driven piece.
Yeah.
Right? You have to allow the body and yourself to have a human experience and to understand that experience before that can come out as this gift to share with others. So I'm just trying to, I think driving that for myself, I'm talking to myself too, that reminding myself that you have to have this flesh experience with this spiritual dynamic in order to come to whatever next phase that it needs to come to, instead of trying to rush something along.
Yeah. Because, especially if you are, I gather if you're in this space, you're in it because you want to make shit.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what you want to do. And with that being said, everyone has their own timeline. Everyone has kind of like their own goals that they set out when they want to do it. I love what you said about kind of how I took it is kind of just going in the flow and understanding that the things that we're making quite often, it's needing its folks, and it's needing to meet its people. You know what I mean? To kind of like pour into it. It's needing for spaces to be ready and prepped for it. You have some productions that we've seen and you're like, damn, we could have had this 10 years ago, but could we? Like things sometimes are ripe. And that ripeness, I think for some, it feels like, man, when is my moment going to be? Like, when will I get ready to be kind of plucked off of the tree? And all of that, it's a journey, and I don't think that we can kind of see on the other side of it until we're there and we're like, oh shit, I had to do this, and this to get here. Yeah. Or, oh wow, I had to wait for this person to make this move, I think the in-between for is where I'm kind of like really wanting to address for people, because I think that beautiful part of the journey is the in-between, just being able to really sit in the unknowingness, of the journey, and being able to sculpt, if you will, new experiences. And like you said, being able to live. It ain't nothing like living for storytelling. You're gonna have to like really experience those things of those worlds that you're trying to create. So I think for everyone who's making things, and if you feel like pressured, and if you're wondering, when's the next part of the journey, rest assured that you're not alone. Rest assured that that's like a space that like we all kind of go back.
We all want to know.
Damn, when is it happening? Like, when is it happening? But the now, I think there's a lot of beauty in the now. It can be challenging. I found myself these days leaning more into like reading and like journaling a lot more than I ever have. Because when things are quiet, sometimes, whether it's through work or personal, I think the quietness is telling you something. Like it's telling you to go somewhere else. It's telling you, you know, like if you're like, my pen feel dry, I ain't got nothing to say right now. It's like, go experience something that's already been kind of that's been molded. You know what I mean? Like go experience some adventures where you don't have to be the one who's crafting the story. So I've taken this time to really feel, you know, feel what it feels like to kind of just open pages and not necessarily feel the weight of what am I creating next? Like letting some stuff find me. So I think that's where I want to land. Let it find you. Yeah.
I think that's important. And that'll make me, it's a beautiful segue to what are you reading? Like what are you like taking in right now?
I need to go get my books right now because I'm reading some like really, really dope books. Dope books right now. Can I go get one?
Go get them. Go get them.
I'll go get like a few of them.
Hey guys, wait a second. Ebony's going to get her books. But in the meantime, I know that I am always reading Toni Morrison. I just read and reread Home, and Home is what brought me back to Home was actually Farah Jasmine Griffin's book, Read Until You Understand. And oh gosh, man, like that's the realest stuff. Taking in information until it clicks. Ooh. Until it clicks differently, until it clicks in the way that you know you have to do something, or just that it sets in your body in this transformative way. Yeah. Sometimes you got to take something in 3, 4, 5, 10 times before it does what it needs to do to you. So Farah Jasmine Griffin's book, Read Until You Understand, has been pivotal in this moment, just regarding beauty and justice and self-empowerment. And that's, you know, she talks about those things. The intent to read until you understand is something that came from her father, whom she lost at a young age. But he instilled in her that practice, that read until you understand it. So reading that, Home by Toni Morrison. Yeah. You know, just how does a woman come back into her power? How does a man come back? They're coming back into it through truth, through self-reckoning, through community, and community laying hands on you in order to move you through traumas, in order to move you to be, you know, your independent self. I've been reading about Einstein's theory of relativity and wormholes. Chocolate City, about Black metropolises and what is it? What the making of the Black South, the making of the global South, and how those things have impacted history, and a few other things. But those are some of the stuff I've been taking in.
I love those. What I've been reading a few things, but I've been like just staying on the most lately.
Hey, got that too.
So this has been very, very it's been very affirming. It's been very affirming. A friend of mine put me on this one, and so shout out, friend, thank you. It's been dope reading that one, and I got a new one. Mojo Working. This has been very amazing. Just like coming from the South, and just like all the ancestral connections of just like spirituality, how we tend to ourselves, how we nurture ourselves, how we save ourselves, and just talking a lot about like Gullah Geechee spirituality and practices has been beautiful. So yeah, man, that reading is a portal. It's a portal for sure.
Yeah, no, it's been like diving in between fiction and nonfiction.
Yeah.
Even poetry, like I take even longer to read poetry because it is one of those things that you have to read over again, and you know, different emotional states can enable you to dive into a line or a stanza in a different kind of way. But I've been reading Anne Sexton's love poems, which is bringing you to an understanding of the challenges of connecting with regard to relationships and the beauty of connecting in relationships, because, you know, like that's what we're doing. We're constantly looking at human connectivity or disconnect at this really, like, you know, weird, pivotal, shifting time of pandemic, of war, of, you know, not valuing folks.
That's right.
Which has been, you know, happening historically, but it's like just a dirty whirlpool of it happening right now for everyone. So to dive into some love and some beauty is
needed,
necessary.
It's definitely needed. I love that you let us take a moment there, and, you know, just to speak to even creating in this time, if you will. And, you know, if you're a Black person, if you're a person of color, if you're a marginalized person, shit has always been a bit murky for you, right? But to be in harmony, if you will, with this murkiness, to be in harmony with this tension is a whole nother force field, if you will, all together. So I think just holding space for shit sometimes just feeling like a disaster is a true thing, you know, like just holding space for, like, I don't know what comes next. I don't know if it feels good. I don't know if it feels comforting. I don't know what home feels like anymore. Do I have to create a new home? I think all of those things are very relative. And if you get caught up into telling yourself don't feel those things, you know, because you have to create, right? Like, I still got to make some shit because, you know, when it opened back up, I got to be ready. You know, all of those things are very true. But I think just like nurturing self and understanding that what resides in us can't leave us, you know, so those stories that you're really wanting to pluck from self and put into the world, it can't go nowhere. It's in its temples, in its garden. But honoring self while all of this goes on, hold on to that, do more of it.
What it won't leave you. What are, like, just thinking about Atlanta, thinking about, we're talking about things that we're into right now, but what are some things that you constantly return to that may be object or book or podcast or film that you are returning to? And then is there a place or something that you return to in Atlanta that brings you back?
I think for me, the first thing that stuck out is the park.
We got a lot of parks.
We got a lot of parks. We have a lot of parks. And that's something I think that depending on where you are in most cities, like you'll see some parks if you're fortunate. It ain't nothing like swinging on a swing.
Man.
Try it out.
Yeah.
Try it out. You know, like it's pretty amazing what it does to your body, what it does to your mind. And so I nurture myself that way. And I think when I went back to the swings in the playground, I felt kind of ridiculous because it was some kids over there. Like, it's some
like, you're taking up our space.
And I'm like, baby,
you know, like 4 or 6 of them up here. You're taking up our space, grown lady.
Get on there with them. Get on there with them, man. Like it does something to you just to be able to swing upwards. Swing back, swing upwards.
The one at Piedmont Park. I go to that one. I go to that one with my son a lot.
Yeah.
You got the one that you can't put your ass in.
But you can't.
For the toddlers.
Yeah, I don't like when they did that.
That was disrespectful. You're not valuing that. But the little, right?
That's
and you sit in it and you whoosh. When you whoosh up, like I like to like go hard and whoosh up to where, like, if you know the chain,
yeah,
right? Like what is it gonna do? Am I gonna wish back with ease, or is this motherfucker gonna break me and I'm gonna hit the wood chips in a new way?
Nice.
It's beautiful to test that. And then, I mean, it changes perspective all the time. Like, we've got this cityscape right before you, but when you go really hard, all you can see is like the sky.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just feels that's a beautiful, thing to return to.
For sure.
And then, so what's another thing that you keep coming back to? Like a book or just another artistic piece. But I will say for me, you know, there was a time, I don't do this as much anymore, but I would always go to Oakland Cemetery. And I would go to the historically Black section.
Yeah.
And I would sit with them. There was one woman there who was influential in fostering children in the city of Atlanta. And I would sit with her, right? Like, and thinking about, you know, and, you know, imagining her to care for folks, or to care for my grandmother who, you know, who was coming from that kind of a traumatic background in her childhood. And I would be there and I would just be sitting. And then there's another area that was really open. And there were no markers or graves there, but it was just right on an open field area in a tree. And I would just sit under the tree. It's like kind of near the gate over where the cotton stacks are.
Yeah.
And just like you imagine, like all of these lives that have existed in various, you know, multitudes of experience. And then there's this open field. And I don't know, that enabled me to envision and speculate on what life was, what life is, and what life could be. So that was a place for me to always return to. Yeah.
I was going to say my final one, I think, of returning would be if you can find them, but like if you stumble upon like a real candy lady.
Do they exist anymore?
I know. It's like we stay in a pretty residential Black historical neighborhood, so they still bunked off a little bit, but they're not as prevalent as they used to be. So it truly is like it does something to you when you go in someone's garage and it's like uniformed and outfitted to be a candy store. It's still a dope experience. So if you can tap into your local candy lady, for those who partake.
Oh, that's such a memory, bro.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You weren't really necessary. Like if you ain't home by a certain time, where are you?
Yeah.
And why aren't you here?
Somebody coming up the hill for you.
But our candy lady was about 2 streets up from us. So it's an extra little walk. She lived in a yellow house. You go, like, it was like going into a museum.
Yeah.
She had all kinds of, like, she had the bulk stuff. I ain't know nothing about Sam's.
You didn't know nothing about bulk.
Was there even a Sam's when we were kids? So I'm like, where is this lady getting all this stuff from? Yeah. So it looked like a candy museum to me. And I felt like, I definitely didn't have the bread. I'm like, can I get some Tootsie Pops? Like,
how much can I get with $1? Yeah, no.
Yeah, but it felt like a museum, like this heroic place to be.
Yeah.
Even though I wasn't like shelling out all the money to get this candy, because I was a little conscious of my teeth. You know, like, man, my mom don't want to have to take me to the dentist.
Yeah, so you cared. That's great.
I did. But don't play when you get off the bus, off the MARTA.
Yeah,
I was going to the gas station and getting them flaming hot popcorns.
Had to.
Don't play with me. All the Black children want the spicy.
I know, right? Something about that. That didn't be my.
I wasn't a dill pickle girl. Did you get dill pickles?
You know, I was, but I was never the dill pickle girl who like I wasn't an everyday dill pickle girl. Like I had to be in the mood. And I definitely wasn't a dill pickle girl. Although I always admired those girls who did this. Like they would take their nails and just stuff like a Cheeto in the middle of it. Or put like a noun later in the middle of it. You ever seen it?
The pickle?
Of the pickle.
These revolutionary chefs.
That was different. I was never into that. Yeah.
That's the South Side. That's what? No, that is something different. I have not seen nobody do that. I went to Atlanta Public School. What is this anomaly?
Yeah. No, but seriously.
They would eat it for forever. I know that much.
Yeah, no. I mean, they last for forever. Them things big.
No, that was too much for me.
Yeah, it's too much for me too.
I love a good cucumber now, but gosh, anyway. But yeah, it's so wonderful. Like they are these charming, beautiful memories of like of sites of play.
Yeah.
Sites of choice, right? It's like the first times you're really able to do things that you want to do. You're coming to this locale because I had a desire.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a longing for something to make me feel a sweetness, to make me feel a sourness, to make me feel spicy.
And to feel my pleasure, whatever it is.
My pleasure. These are sites of pleasure, and those are lovely memories.
I love that.
Even though they're these first these locations to seek out ourselves, you know, and the way we want to be felt and the way we want to taste the world.
Yeah.
Real. That's what's up. That's nice. That's nice. Okay, cool. Another thing, like I think let me think, a book or something that you know what I returned to not too recently? A Chorus Line. You remember that movie? In the 80s? My sister used to watch it all the time.
Yeah.
Legit all the time. I can do that. Right?
Yeah.
And so I know all those songs. Tits and ass. Like I shouldn't have known it, but she sang it so lusciously. And I returned to it the other day. Like I returned to it like it's like songs that I constantly sing in my head, or when I encounter something in the world. But to come back to it, and like I watched it with my son, and like he, you know, and then to understand it as an adult and as someone who has been pushing and working in theater or pushing and working and to witness what the experience of this fictive representation of what actors go through, specifically in the theater circuit, and to have those connective tissues and to know that I don't have to make the same choices, or I'm not making the same choices as those people, you know, and that you can still thrive, and that there are so many other options for all body types, all
I love that.
genders, all that, and just to do that comparative analysis of what folks had to go through then, and what folks are experiencing now, what I'm experiencing now. It was really interesting to come back to that, and to still, you know, have staying power.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, staying power is something to note for sure.
Yeah. What movies you coming back to?
Whew. Okay, so this is some funny shit. The other day I revisited and why is it escaping me now? The Lost Boys. This is very interesting.
Oh, you know what I like to say? You miss.
Why did I come back to it? I don't even know. I think what was I doing? I know what I was doing. But yeah, I came back to it, and it was fun. It was fun to see what it looks like when folks are kind of at the start of ingenuity.
Yeah.
Whether it be special effects, whether it be blocking, whether it be just like script to screen. Like, of course, the time period, so it lended itself to kind of being corny, but it was kind of a good corny.
Yeah.
I was wondering what our good corny looks like. That's what brought me to it. Like, what does our good corny for this time period look like? Because it's something to be said about like just being cheeky and just having a space where kids say things that are perhaps sometimes beyond their thought bubble, or maybe not. But the way they express it is so adult, but it's coming from this kid's body. Like, it was just very interesting to see how people crafted the worlds. So yeah, I was into the Lost Boys. It was a cool revisit.
I've watched that.
Yeah.
Numerous times.
I think it was like my third time. Like, I don't think I saw it then.
I've seen it a lot.
Yeah.
You know, we them babies like Channel 36. I don't think everybody know about Channel 36, but Channel 36, Channel 69.
Who watches it?
That's a thing of the past. But like when when Kiefer Sutherland dies, you know,
Spoiler alert
for anybody. And he's just like, I was like, wow, look at the design of the thing coming through, and the way he was like,
wincing in pain.
Yeah, That sit with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, design has had a stronghold for a long time. Even brings you, further into the future. Who's nasty like that? Who's got that good, like that, like the way you're looking for the good corny? I'm like, okay, who's got that good death dynamic with the body? So yeah, I think that's fascinating. Yeah, Lost Boys in the chorus line. Ensemble joints.
Ensemble joints. I love them. Yeah.
Yeah, that have somebody for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And and they feel full body. They feel as though like they have backstories and all that good stuff. So yeah.
Makes me think of Stranger Things even now.
That would probably be, to your point, our most close connect to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I guess to parallel the chorus line, who's singing and dancing? Who's singing and dancing now? That may be something in TV.
Yeah, like, and they're doing their remakes too. They're doing their remakes and things, but
yeah.
I
don't know how I feel about that. I feel like
I know, yeah.
Leave it alone.
Yeah.
Don't or
it looks shinier, but do we want it to look shinier?
No, not always. Beauty doesn't always
no, it doesn't. It doesn't, for sure.
Give me my my rustic.
A little grit on it.
I think in the last couple of years, thinking of rustic and thinking of things that aren't turning over well. Like I'm looking at, Hattie McDaniel behind you, and how, Gone with the Wind is it's not doing, it's not giving.
It's not giving it's not giving. Yeah.
Not giving. It was never giving. But yeah, stuff that, it's shifting. It's shifting.
It is. It is.
Yeah. So what are you wondering about? What are you wondering about now as an artist?
As a
human.
I think I'm really just curious, honestly, what is interesting to the younger demographic, younger folks. I find them very fascinating. What are their curiosities? What adventures are they wanting to go on? What do they find cool? What they think lame as hell right now? Like, that's the type of stuff, like, I kind of put my ear to. I think because
people should know you work with Create, and you have a brilliant film that is at completion or nearing completion, and is going to come out that explores a young Black girl.
Yes. So I have a short film.
Talk about it.
That's a proof of concept. It's called Jordan. Hopefully it will be in the festival circuit this year. But yeah, it deals with a young tween girl who she loves mermaids, and she goes on fishing adventures with her father all the time, and she discovers something not of this world, and it's not what she thinks it is. And then she has to learn about what does it look like to have injustice from their standpoint and her standpoint. How are humans kind of just trashing the environment, if you will? What does that look like from her very young protagonist lens, and what can she do to help the world? And it's a very local story, so it's talking about climate fiction from a local standpoint, from Georgia. So that's another reason why I think I'm just interested in what younger people are saying, because a lot of the stories I'm writing right now feature and star young folks. I think because of the stuff that I grew up had a lot of younger people. And so I'm trying to, like, actively right now create a canon of the things I wanted to see.
Yeah.
And so, like the Lost Boys, and I look at even like the Breakfast Club, any of John Hughes' work, even all of Steven Spielberg's work, all that earlier stuff, like those things are etched in my psyche. A lot of us can like play it back and forth without even seeing the tape. And although I felt like I was there, I wasn't physically there. But that's okay. That's why we create our own worlds. And so right now, actually, I think that's where all my energy is going.
Yeah. What are the students interested in that you're talking to? Because I think it's important to stay connected. That's something I think about like as on a daily, like people like to do this thing. Oh, that's the young people thing. That's not something that I practice saying, because just aesthetically, folks don't, and typically folks don't necessarily regard me as a super adult, right? It's always been that interesting manner of like wavering in between until people actually like talk to me about my past or whatnot. But I think that's something that I don't ever try to make, like, is this divide between myself as a generational person over here, and then, the young folks and what they're saying. So I'm interested in what are the conversations that you're having with them, and what are the things that they're trying to get at,
They love your work.
And how do you stay connected to them, like, and whatnot?
So as the kids say, like, no cap, not trying to do it because I'm talking to Danny. It's so interesting to see when we talk about films and things in this class. And they're like from age, I think like 18 to 24. A lot, 17 to 24. And we had like this kind of round table where we're just talking about the work that we like, the work that's inspiring us, and several of the projects that Deadwyler's in came up. And they were just saying how they were excited to see, in particular, a Black, darker woman who had backstory that can be teased out. You know what I mean? Like, had DNA in places that can actually like, okay, they're doing this because of this. And I could tell that, like, whoever directed this, I can tell that they had more than like, oh, she just looks super badass, or, oh, she fits the part. So they are definitely conscientious of watching all of the new things. A lot of the old things, they surprise me when we just talk about, like, and some of the students who went to like film school in particular, they'll talk about like The Bicycle Thief and just some old classics, you're like, okay, that's dope. But I think the interesting thing that I'm noticing right now, and why I think it's so important for us to talk so much about independent work, is a lot of them are seeing these kind of grander productions, right? And now we're able to see behind the wizard's curtain a little bit. So we get to see how things were made. And I think sometimes the ground between the more industry level work to independent space, sometimes for them is murky and it gets lost. So it's like, I want my next big thing to look like a Get Out. Like, that's what I'm going for, right? And although that was like on his kind of first breakout, but it's like, they're looking at the projects that are culturally shifting things, and they're wanting to add to it. But also, I think with that being said, it's kind of like, how do I make these things without money? And whereas I think a lot of people, when I was coming up, it was, how do I make things with money too? But we didn't necessarily get to see behind the wizard curtain as much.
Right.
And so I kind of knew I wasn't going to make my big feature until some time. Like, I knew it was going to take some time. And now it's kind of like, no, I'm making my first time around. So I think that's cool, because I think it puts a battery in people's back and lets them feel as though there's space for them, because they see it in real time.
Yeah.
I think it also gives us space to understand that while there is space, there's so much space between getting to the different parts of the journey.
Yeah.
But don't forsake your little things. Yeah. I think that's what I'm always telling folks. Like, don't forsake your little things that no one gets. They think they're crazy as hell. They're like, what are you talking about? I don't know that talent on screen.
The shit that'll never get in the festival as much as you try.
You ain't gonna get into no festival.
Y'all, years and years of no's. It's okay.
And it's perfectly okay. And I think that's the thing that I always try to, while I'm encouraging them to dream beyond and to truly reach for the stars, because why not? Like, I don't know an artist who doesn't reach for the stars, but I think there's also a lot of fertile ground in just the space of making those funny, weird things that are so abstract, to your point, they're not going to the bigger circuit.
Right.
But you're finding your community. You know what I mean? You're finding your other people who are just as weird as you are. And then y'all will go make some other weird shit that perhaps is a little bit more commercial.
Right.
And then you'll be the next whoever or the next you. So Yeah, it's really cool to have those conversations with them. But I'll say this, the future is in good hands. These are some really brilliant kids.
That makes me happy. Like it seriously does. I think it's important to constantly have that connective tissue with them. Because, you know, Carrie Williams always says in different talks, I'm figuring it out.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing either, you know, and I think that's,
amen to that.
I think that's okay. That's cool. Because we all are. I mean, it's a very human quality and trait, you know, nobody got the guidebook to life on Earth, right? Or life moving in America. But there are histories that are important to keep, you know, in tow with us. So, and to stay in that constant conversation with folks and the new ideas, and making the small things, making the moneyless things are the inception of your own history, of your artistic practice. That's the real stuff. It's like the stuff where I don't know what I'm doing, you know, working with, you know, the team that I've been working with constantly with Brandon and Chrissy and Munir, like those are folks who I work with, and we are making our own history, making an archive of what it means to figure it out. It's like that is cartography for your ass, you know what I mean? And you constantly refer to 2019, 2018, 2017, and then you can track the patterns and how you've worked as an artist. So it's just diving. You know, when I saw Tangerine and they were like, they made it with an iPhone, I said, bet.
Yeah.
Bet we could do get a little bit of fun, and you make it with a red or whatever, and combine that with the iPhone. Like there are all kinds of ways to do the thing that you need to do. And it's about getting up the energy, about getting up the communal energy to make that thing happen.
You can drop the mic right now.
Oh, it's broke. Okay, cool. We're taking the aux cords out. Ring, ring, ring. It's time to go get dill pickles and flaming hots. Holla at y'all. No, Ebony, I want to thank you so much. This is you know, I don't think we didn't know where we're gonna go. We're like
word.
But we just dove, and I'm really happy to have dove into these beautiful kind of like Southern Atlanta memories and
always
art memories and futures.
Yes. Thank you so much. And it was it's exciting sometimes just to talk, like porch talk. I'm gonna call it porch talk. So
it is porch talk.
Atlanta Film Festival for the porch talk.
Yeah. Next time we have some lemonade.
Yeah, we'll actually be on the porch. We'll do all that next time. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. So thank you to Linda Burns, and thank
Linda,
to the Atlanta Film Festival and the Atlanta Film Society. And we thank you for joining us at the Creative Conference.
Thank y'all. Bye.
Bye.